The envelope made a soft sound when it touched the table. Paper on polished wood. It was meant to be discreet. It never is. Her father didn't look at me when he slid it over. He looked at his plate. Her mother smiled too hard, the way people do when they think kindness is a transaction. My wife watched me, hopeful, unaware. I kept my hands folded, calm, curious, silent. Inside the envelope was a severance offer for a man who didn't work there. A starter fund, a suggestion, a message. Take this, take your daughter, disappear. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I'd seen this ritual before. From the other side of glass walls and balance sheets. I wanted to see how they treated a man they thought was small. I smiled. I always smile when I'm underestimated. They thought I lived simply because I earned little. They never considered that restraint and poverty look identical from the outside. My wife loved that about me. I took the bus, wore the same watch for years, fixed things instead of replacing them. I let her believe it was humility. It was camouflage. Her father built his empire by never trusting anyone. Irony has a sense of humor. I owned most of it. The betrayal didn't arrive with the envelope. That was just the confirmation. It started earlier. Subtle shifts. Meetings I wasn't invited to. A background check that went a little too deep. Her father's CEO, his loyal attack dog, started asking questions through intermediaries. Who was I? Where did I come from? Why was I always watching? Because when you own something quietly, you learn to listen. I discovered the truth the same way I discover most things. Patterns. The shell companies circling the trust. The legal maneuvers designed to dilute a shareholder who didn't attend board meetings. Me. They thought anonymity meant absence. That night, after dinner, my wife apologized for her parents. She didn't know what the envelope meant. I told her it was fine. I meant it. This wasn't her sin. This was theirs. Pain is loud when it's fresh. Planning is silent when it's serious. I didn't rush. I never rush. I reviewed every clause of the retirement trust they forgot about, the one created decades ago for stability. I had quietly acquired its controlling interest years earlier, piece by piece, through patience and lawyers who don't gossip. The trust had voting rights, extensive ones, dormant ones. They woke up beautifully. I watched them prepare to erase me. I let the CEO rehearse my dismissal. I let the paperwork circulate. I let arrogance sharpen the blade they intended to use. The confrontation happened on a Thursday. The CEO leaned back in his chair like a man who had never been told no. "You're outdated. We're done here," he hissed. I replied quietly, "Understood." That was the moment the retirement trust activated its voting rights. By Monday morning, the board convened an emergency meeting. The question echoed through the room like a bad joke. Who just fired the person who owns 76% of the shares? I listened through the secure line. I always do. Voices panicked. Lawyers stuttered. Numbers were recalculated in real time, the way men do when they realize the floor is gone. I didn't attend. Power doesn't need to be present to be felt. The CEO tried to call me, then his tone changed, then his number was blocked. By lunch, his access badge failed. By evening, his name was a liability. My father-in-law found out last. That was intentional. We met in his office, the same office where he'd once bragged about crushing competitors. He looked older, smaller. He gestured for me to sit like habit could restore hierarchy. "You planned this," he said. "Yes. You married my daughter." "I loved your daughter," I corrected. "Still do." His mouth opened, closed. He finally understood the difference between leverage and loyalty. I slid the envelope back across his desk, unopened. "You should have asked who I was," I said, "not how to remove me." The fallout was surgical. Board restructuring, asset freezes, public statements crafted to sound like accountability, private apologies that meant nothing. The company survived. I made sure of it. Revenge that burns everything down is childish. I wanted correction. I wanted memory. At home, my wife noticed the change, the calls, the way people suddenly waited for my response. I told her the truth on a quiet Sunday morning. No drama, no reveal speech, just facts. She cried. Not because of the money, because of the secrecy. I needed to know who you were, she said. I needed to know who they were, I replied. We rebuilt carefully. Trust takes longer when it's real. Sometimes I think about that envelope, how confidently they pushed it toward me, how small they thought I was. There's a lesson there if you're paying attention. Never confuse silence with weakness. Never assume simplicity means lack of power. And never try to bury a man who prefers to stay underground. I didn't take their money. I took their certainty.